In the heart of the vibrant yet impoverished village of Umueze, the disparity between the wealthy and destitute was glaring. There lived a beautiful young girl named Umma. Umma was from a very poor background. Her father died when she was just 8, and she was the fifth child of her family. Umma was a very fat baby. From a very young age, she was always bigger than her age mate. Even when she was 8, she looks as though she was 11. And when she was 10, she looks as though she was a 17-year-old. Uma is now 14 years of age and she already looks like a full grown woman. She took it straight from her grandmother, according to her mother. Mother can no longer afford to meet to all her 8 children's needs, so she sent the grown-ups to go live with people or to go out to learn a trade. Umma, 14 years of age, stood out for her maturity. Her mother, Mrs. Oppa, sent Umma to live with a wealthy family and work as an house help. At the end of every month, Mrs. Okeke and Mrs. Oppa agreed to pay Umma's salary to Mrs. Oppa every month end. Umma stood out not just for her maturity, but for the burden she carried. As a house help in the affluent Okeke's household, her life was one of silent suffering. It was barely a year she had stayed with the Okeke family, and she had already been tormented with tragedy at a very tender age. Mrs. Okeke had 4 sons: Chike, Obi, Namdi, and Ikechukwu. Chike was the oldest, followed by Obi, next to Nnamdi, and then to Ikechukwu. The 4 boys had grown to men, ranging from ages 35 to 30 to 25 and then to 20. But they still lived under the roof of their parents, squandering the wealth of their late father. Ikechukwu, being the youngest, wanted something different for his life, and he traveled to the neighboring village to learn a skill to start up his own business, so he was never or barely around. Every day, Uma endured the harsh commands of Mrs. Okeke and the tormenting presence of her 3 sons, Chike, Obi, and Nnamdi. Uma's daily routine was a testament to her strength. Despite her young age, she bore the physical and emotional weight of her duties. The night, however, her darkest hours. Chike, Obi, and Nnamdi took turns in molesting her, their cruelty marked by the household's grand facade. Uma's cries for help were mere with silence, her pleas drowned in the oppressive air of wealth and power. She was unable to even reach out to her mother, and Mrs. Okeke swore to take her life if she ever exposes her sons. 2 years later, Uma was still in the midst of terror, but horror grew one fateful day when she discovered that she was with child. Mrs. Okeke's suspicion turned to rage, and Uma's treatment worsened, blamed for a crime she was forced into. Hope unexpectedly with the return of Ikechukwu, the 4th son. Unlike his brothers, he was gentle and understanding. He noticed Uma's distress and was shocked at the swell of her belly. Ikechukwu had always liked and loved Uma, and his presence was the only freedom Uma had. Uma also loved Ikechukwu. Ikechukwu's mother has always noticed this, and each time she sees them together, there's a pain in her heart and she gets more angry with Uma as she was too low for their class. Determined to uncover the truth, he approached Uma with kindness and patience. Through tears and trembling words, Uma revealed the torment she had endured. Ikechukwu's heart broke for Uma. He blamed himself so much that he wasn't there for her when she needed him the most. He wondered why his brothers were so wicked, as he has even never seen a trace of that in them. Pain grew in his heart, and it led to righteous anger, which burned within him. Confronting his family, he stood firm against his mother's denials and his brother's scorn. Mrs. Okeke's vehement opposition only strengthened Ikechukwu's resolve. Ikechukwu reported his family to the elders and his kinsmen. They were all shocked as this was an abomination in the whole Umweze village. A woman is not supposed to be with child until she was married, and if it accidentally happens as a mistake, she must get married to the father of the child. But Umma's situation was different as she didn't know the true father of her child. The king's men, after lots of decisions and resolving, they decided that one of the three was who molested her must get ready to settle down with her. But the three brothers refused. They were forced but abruptly refused, saying that Umma was too low for their class, and even trying to bribe the elders and the kinsmen to end the case. This got them more angry, and it got to the king's ears. The king was so furious and decided to punish the three brothers and equally punishing their mother by banishing them. Umma's mother was broken when she heard the story and condition of her poor daughter, as she was called by the elders to come take care of her daughter until she put to bed. By then, a solution to the problem would have been resolved. Before Umma put to bed, Ikechukwu made sure he always comes to see her, making sure there's a smile on her face. He was so close to Umma and his love for her grew the more. Umma also equally loved him. He equally bought her mother gifts and lent her some money for upkeep for her younger ones. Umma's mother was so happy and blessed Ikechukwu each day for his bravery and kindness. Months later, after Umma had put to bed, Ikechukwu came to Umma's father's house with his kinsmen, appealing to Umma and her mother that he would love to marry her and be the true father to his brother's child, despite the circumstances surrounding the child's birth. He was ready to take responsibility as the child is also him because the same blood which flows through his brothers flows through him. Umma was shocked and was with tears. Umma agreed to marry Kochuku because she also loved him and was always there for her. The marriage ceremony held when Umma's baby was a year old and she was strong enough to get ready for marriage. Despite her tender age of 17, Ikechukwu's decision to marry Umma shocked the village. He committed to justice and led him to report his brothers and mother to the authorities, despite facing the wrath of his mother and community judgments. Umma gradually healed with the love of Ikechukwu. She was already carrying Ikechukwu's child, and they were one big happy family. The end.